Hi, my name is John Bike, and this is my PowerPoint on the flipped classroom, and for my Education 407 class for Jan term at the University of Laverne. I'm a first-year undergraduate student, and I hope you like it. So first you have to ask, what is a flipped classroom? A flipped classroom shifts away from the traditional classroom in the way that teachers give out the work, because in a traditional classroom, teachers give out work, you have notes, and you do homework, and you test. And that's how it works. You do that every day for pretty much the whole year or however long you're in the course. The flipped classroom gives the students the opportunity. What happens in the flipped classroom is the teachers give the students the homework the night before for them to do it at night. So they come into class ready to learn the topic and go over examples and fully learn it to its entirety. The homework is really done in class, when the work they do at home is just watching notes or taking notes and watching videos, learning, getting a general idea of the topic. And they come to school next day, and then they work on examples with the teacher. If they don't get it, they can ask the teacher, which is one of the key parts in the flipped classroom. Now, the flipped classroom was created because of the problems with the traditional classroom, and I'm sure everyone here knows what I'm talking about when I talk about the traditional classroom, because I'm sure we were all in it at some point when it's just a class where you do notes, you do homework, and if you don't get it, you have to do the homework. You got to figure out a way to do the homework, and you can ask the teacher the next day. But the problem is, you ask them about stuff from the day before, but they already want to move on to things, the next assignment. And if for the students that don't understand the topics the first time around, their learning gets affected in a negative way, because sometimes you need to learn things the first way so you can be able to do steps 2, 3, 4, and 5. But if you don't get one, you can't do the other ones, and that often happens in the traditional classroom setting. Students, they don't get it, and they need to get it, or else they won't be able to go ahead and advance their learning in that class. The flipped classroom comes from Woodland Park High School in Colorado. Two teachers, Jonathan Bergman and Aaron Sams, they started making PowerPoints for their students that were sick the day before. So if they missed class, they would watch the PowerPoints and then they'd be caught up on the class. But what they didn't expect to happen was for their online presentations to go viral, which they did. They went viral online, and people loved the ideas. They thought they could expand it. So they wanted their stuff to be seen. Once the ideas went viral, the teachers, Jonathan Bergman and Aaron Sams, started to give their presentations of what they discovered and what they did nationwide to other teachers who wanted to learn from them and possibly use their teaching methods as their own. And since that day, or since those nationwide presentations happened, the idea of the flipped classroom has spread and is used very often now in school systems in different levels. You have elementary, middle school, and high school, and secondary school, like colleges, and it's used now more than it was before. Now, the biggest problem with a new idea to teach, because when you do something for so long a certain way, change is scary, and you really only want to change if you're changing for the better. And it's hard for people to change. It's one of the hardest things to do in life is to change. So after doing the flipped classroom methods in class, a corporate study group did research to see if it actually was better than the normal classroom. And before the flipped classroom, they found that before the flipped classroom, 50% of freshman students failed English, and 44% of the students failed their math classes. And after they switched to the flipped classroom, the corporate study group found that only 19% of the students failed English and 13% failed math. That's a 31% drop from freshmen in their English class that didn't fail after switching to flipped classroom, and it's a 31% drop in the math area. And also, there was a drop in disciplinary cases in the semester from 736 to 249 cases. So not only did the flipped classroom help the students learn and understand the topics more, but it also had an effect on their disciplinary their issues that were outside the classroom. And I think that's very substantial information. Now, for me, for me personally, I think the flipped classroom is great. I think the idea of it works perfectly, because if your students can come into class with a little bit of prior knowledge on what you're doing, and you learn about it the next day in depth, and you fully master every single subject, every student they're gonna benefit from this. They're gonna benefit, and there's no doubt about that. If they do the work the night before and they work on it in class, ask teacher for help. It's simple. It's just 1, 2, 3, and it works. The only problem with the flipped classroom, though, is that you're trusting the student every night to do their work, to watch a 7-minute video. And I know it sounds easy, just go watch a 7-minute video, but you have to trust that your students are motivated and want to learn. I know teachers, because the teacher has to be motivated, but they need to make their students motivated, because if they're not, they won't go home and do the homework, and they come to class the next day even less prepared than they would have for a normal classroom. Because you can't do homework on something that you have no idea how to do. So that's why you have to do the work the night before. I mean, and students can have the reasons as to why they don't do it, but at the end of the day, they just need to do it. And you have to be accountable. You have to hold your students accountable. And if you can hold your students accountable, and you feel comfortable that they're all accountable for their work, then flipped classrooms will work, guaranteed. But if you cannot make sure that your students are held accountable for their work and what they need to do, then flipped classrooms, a flipped classroom, it won't have the same effect, I believe. But overall, the idea of flipped classroom is a great idea, and it worked, and it's working. So it's very efficient. That's what I believe. Thank you for watching. My name is John Bike again. Thank you.